And welcome back to Aging Well. I'm your host, Nathan Lamb. Today our topic is our Adult Family Care Program at Somerville-Cambridge Elder Services. With me today is Jeanne Leyden. Good to see you. Great to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk a little bit about National Caregiver Month in this segment. National Caregiver Month is in November. The theme for this year is Take Care to Give Care. And this really touches on a theme that's close to your heart, supporting the caregivers and helping them to succeed. So can you tell me a little bit about what AFC is doing for that this year?
Well, we try to validate what our caregivers do any chance we can because it's a 24/7, around-the-clock job. And sometimes you don't always get a lot of, thank you so much for what you do. So we really try to validate what they do on a regular basis. But we also, our agency is so great, Somerville-Cambridge Elder Services, that we take a portion of what we make from this program and we give it back into the program. So it's very important that we do things for our caregivers, and especially on, November when it's National Caregiver Month. Last year, we had first aid kits made up for all our families, and now when a new client comes onto our program, they start them out with the first aid kit. So it's a win-win. We need this to be in compliance with MassHealth, but it was a great thing. Our caregivers loved it. This year, we are giving tote bags with AFC, and we're going to have a lot of different things in the tote bags. 10 of the best ways to deal with caregiver stress. Some fun tips. We're going to have some fun stress balls. Some educational resources where there are support groups and different things like that. So we're going to go out with our tote bags for each one of them. And we also, in this program, we're required to do clinical teaching and training throughout the year. So we pretty much every month go out and we have an agenda or a training topic, and we try to stick to it, but sometimes you may go out to the home and the caregiver just might be having a stressful day, or the participant, and you may switch gears to just provide emotional support. We do a lot of that. So our caregivers really, they when we gave them the first aid kits last year, and we also sent out a letter just thanking them for all that they do, and that we really appreciate them, and how much it means to all of us as the AFC team to be part of their lives.
Oh, that's really great. Yeah. And you touched on it there, the ongoing. It's nice to have a big recognition once per year, but the ongoing supports, the way that you're able to help combat caregiver stress through both the respite and the training. Can we talk a little bit about the respite?
Yes, so what our caregivers can have 2 weeks off in the course of the year to take time off for themselves. We encourage this wholeheartedly. As much as you love somebody, to have a little separation, but you deserve to have a vacation. What we find a lot of times that caregivers tend to not take good enough care of themselves, and really, if you want to be in this for the long haul, you have to. So that's a kind of thing. Really trying to show and teach a caregiver healthy choices, healthy lifestyles, taking that 2 weeks off to go do something, to have that time for yourself. And so they will still get paid their stipend for that period for 2 weeks' time. And we also pay another caregiver that at a little higher rate to come in and provide care for their participant during that time.
That's great.
Yeah. So
I think the way it was phrased in the promotional materials for the Caregiver Month was they said that caregivers often put themselves last because they're busy caring for others.
They so often do, and even sometimes in this program we've had some families like that. Their first reaction is, no, I cannot accept payment for taking care of my mother. Are you kidding me? And then you see the sacrifices that people make taking care of somebody. I've seen families give up a job, give up jobs, and that financial security of their own job to just be providing care. So to get through that barrier, this is a MassHealth funded program that is there for somebody who meets that MassHealth criteria. You're eligible for it. And sometimes, when you break through this resistance, they're really appreciative of the support that they have.
Absolutely. And one other thing I'll just bring up, because we were talking about it recently, there was a study that some of the folks in your department brought to my attention where they It wasn't quite entirely apples to apples, but it was a study out in California with intensive caregiver training, and they basically found that there were correlations between better health and increased training for caregivers, which I thought was kind of great because it's an ongoing effort that AFC has to train caregivers. And then there's this study that this was slightly different, slightly more intensive. This was like 40 hours, but it was a lot of the same topics they were training the people on.
Right.
And they were having better outcomes with maintaining health. I think avoiding trips to the emergency room was one of them. So it does seem like that training can also help make a difference and help them provide that better care.
The training really does help. With some of our, say, a client with a mental health diagnosis, we have many clients with dual diagnosis. They may have something like bipolar or Asperger's, and we could really correlate a decrease in psych hospitalizations since they were in our program. We've had, I can think of a young man that was in our program for 10 years, and he had a caregiver who had raised 3 boys. His wife had passed away, and he wanted to do something meaningful in his life. Never even knew what Asperger's was, but we did a lot of training and teaching. He joined an Asperger's support group with this client. And that client, I think through the 10 years, it was one psych hospitalization. So it really, really works when you're able to have a good caregiver providing support in a loving environment, and also the support of a nurse and social worker. And we've seen fall risks. A lot of times there's a decrease in falls because of being in a structured program where you have oversight.
Absolutely. That jogged my memory. I remember in discussing the training, part of it was fairly standardized, and then my understanding was that some of it is a little more tailored to the household's needs, as you were indicating with in that one example that you gave. So it's kind of a mix.
It absolutely is. So if someone comes along and they have a new diagnosis, they're diabetic, we're going to have to switch gears. If we were going out with one topic and this is a new diagnosis, we're going to get out there and do a lot of teaching around diabetes, what it is, both for the participant and the caregiver, and oversee that kind of thing. So a lot of teaching, education, and support.
Absolutely. All right, well, I guess we'll take a quick break. We'll be back for a third and final segment.